Welcome back to Honey Badger 3D Print and Paint. Today, it's Mad Max Day. But before we take a closer look at this, roll those credits and a quick word from our sponsors.
PCBWay are proud sponsors of the channel. They offer industry-leading 3D printing services covering all types of materials and processes. They also offer industry-leading online CNC machine services from milling, machining, and turning in all the materials you could possibly need. They also offer a fully online prototyping PCB service. Everything from assembly through to design, you can do it all online with an easy system to use for quality. So for all of your needs, check out PCBWay in the link in the video description.
Right, so you've all seen I've done one of these before, albeit much larger. So the one I did was about, the war rig itself was about 9 feet long once it was finished. It was huge. This is 1/16 scale, which is smaller. Now this is actually a commission. Someone contacted us. The guy lives in Sweden. He is running a Mad Max convention in June, I'm going to say. So he commissioned us. He see the original war rig that we did, and he commissioned us to redo the war rig for him. He wants it on his centerpiece and his Mad Max convention. But as well as ordering the war rig, he also ordered the Gigahorse, which is one I have not done before. Now, printing this, most of this is resin. 95% of this is resin. What isn't resin is the tanker body that was done in FDM. The wheels, all done in TPU. That's it. That's it. Everything else on this is resin. So the war rig itself measures about 105 centimeters. The Gigahorse is much smaller, at about 45 centimeters. So it's not small by any means, but scaling this down to 1/16 scale came with new problems that the bigger one didn't. So this has got active suspension, but originally the one I did before was done in FDM, but it was huge and the active suspension couldn't cope with the weight of it. Well, this is the same. The active suspension on this can't cope with the weight of it. I feel like active suspension sounds great when Gambody advertised their models, but in all seriousness, I just don't think they work. The parts that are involved in moving the wheels and moving the suspension are so small and thin, they just don't stand up to the weight of the model once it's done. So I think Gambody going forward, scrap active suspension. It doesn't work on any model we've ever done. So the Gigahorse, that is also Gambody. If you're going to buy this, it's not cheap. The Gigahorse is one file, the truck is one file, the tanker is one file, and the fuel pod is one file. So you're actually buying 4 STL files to get this. There are also other cars as well from Mad Max. We did not do those because I had enough of just doing these ones and don't want to do any more war rigs ever again. Now, paint on this. With a war rig, what we did is we matte blacked everything to start with. From there, what I did is I started building up the weathering. Started with a very dark brown, which I sponge on to get that sort of spread of like a rust look, but not uniform. So I sponge it on. What I tend to do is get like a green sponge that you have in the kitchen, cut the sponge off and then cut it into strips and use it like a dabber, basically. So I start with a dark brown and I build that up. I then move on to a rust colour and I move over onto that. Once I've done that, I then use a rust wash, which I go over all of that with, and it just sort of blends the transitions together, makes some light and dark areas. We then found a new paint. Now, this new paint, I've got to say, it's genuinely amazing. It's rust paint. When you get it, it comes in two parts. It's from Germany. We think we'll put a link to it. I think it's called Rust Farben, which basically I think translates into rust paint. Tell me if I'm wrong. I don't speak German. What you do is it's like a very thick grey paint, like a very, very, very thick acrylic, more like a Mod Podge sort of thickness. What I did with that is I stippled it on in places all over the truck. What you then do is once it dries, you've got a bottle of activator. I used the activator with my airbrush and airbrushed it over everything. Now it's good and bad. So if it's only a very thin bit of paint, it takes about 24 hours for it to activate, and that grey paint turns to rust. It's amazing. You'll see in the close-up. If you want it thicker, you may have to do a second or a third coat of the activator. If that is the case, then just doing the rust on this is a sort of 3-day process. It's not quick. But when you add this much to paint, it's okay, because there was loads here I had to do. Once all that rust is done, I've then got a Tamiya weathering kit. It's basically like a little makeup compact, and one of the colours is like a rusty dusty colour. Again, with a sponge, rub it into that. It's like makeup basically. You rub it into that and then go all over it. And what it does is it puts like a dust over everything, especially over the tyres. I did that to take down the shine off the TPU, but also make it look like it's been driving through dusty wasteland. Now, then, once all that's done, we're on to windows. Windows, we have tried so many things to get windows clear. What I will say is these were harder to do because of how small a lot of these windows were. So, yes, they printed very well. Are they clear? No. And we've said it multiple times. We struggle to do it. I think eventually we're going to move to vacuum forming. That's the way we're going to go. But as of yet, we haven't got a vacuum form. So this is what we have to do. On the truck itself, there was a few more different bits to pick out because there was stills and stuff like that on here. So that took a bit more work to get that done. The fuel pod, really pretty much the same as the truck. And the fuel pod really pretty quick to do. It's quite small. Along the top of the truck here, you'll see there's cables that move the VW Beetle forwards and backwards, I should imagine. We bought a roll of braided wire, and we added that to it. Now the Gigahorse. Building these models from Gambody is it's not easy. There's hundreds and hundreds of parts in this, a lot of which you can't even see. But the only way you can build these is you bring up the build video on Gambody and you watch a step, you pause it, you do it. You watch a step, you pause it, you do that. Inevitably, with this many hundreds of parts, you find bits you either missed on printing or you lost, or bits break as you're doing it. So you are continuously redoing bits as you're building these. The Gigahorse, I'm going to say, was so complicated to build. It took me hours and hours, and by hours I mean that probably took me the best part of 5-6 hours to build the Gigahorse, maybe more. It's so involved and so small and complicated. I was literally, when I finished doing that, I just slumped down in the chair. Like, I hated it. I hated building it. But before we go any further, let's have a quick look around the models. Now, as you can see from the close-ups, I think the rust came out really, really well. It is a great model. These are great models, don't get me wrong. I just really dislike doing them. Now, we've got to ship this to Sweden. You may say, how are you going to do that? So, we came up with a plan. We went onto eBay and found ourselves a giant flight case. We bring the giant flight case back here. What we did is we painted it black because it was bright blue. We then added some Immortan Joe sort of motifs on it. We then hazard striped it and painted a bit on the top. So you'll be able to see that here. We then ordered some huge pieces of foam. These are 150mm thick, 3 pieces of it. What we've done is, because this guy does a lot of cosplay and stuff like that, the reason we bought the giant flight case is because what we've done is we've made a false bottom in the bottom of the flight case so that he can store stuff in there. Then on top of the false bottom, we've got 3 layers of this foam, with the middle layer being cut up with the model inside and then a bit on the top, so it will be fine during shipping. That then went on to a pallet, which is then going to be ratchet strapped and then shipped off to Sweden. So yeah, if anyone's watching this, no more war wigs. And if someone does want a war wig, it's now double the price of this one, because I don't want to do it again. Or James can do the next one. How about that for a good idea?
I disagree.
Yeah, he disagrees. He printed a bit in FDM and then went, yeah, there, get on with it. You've painted it before. You'll do good on this one because you painted it before.
You did so good last time, though. You did so good last
time. Well, I
time.
think you'd do amazing if you had a go. So
I disagree.
Yeah,
I disagree.
Well, I disagree that we'll ever be doing another one. I don't care what the price is or how much someone offers. I'm not doing another one. James may take you up on the offer, but I won't. So, don't forget to like and subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything. Does us a favour. And we'll see you on the next video. Thanks a lot. Bye.